This is a video that I've struggled to make for the last 4 months. Either the topic has changed and the whole trajectory of the video was thrown all out of whack, or school and other commitments would just crop up and I'd be too busy to sit down and just edit a video. But finally, here we are. Today, we're going to be delving into the recesses of utter degeneracy and levels of terminally online that even for me, someone who is terminally online, can't describe. From doxing to baiting to harassment and even a brief stint of homelessness, this is the ongoing saga of Fallenchungus. Fallenchungus, or Francis, was born on May 22, 2006. There isn't really much information about his early life or even childhood, as most of it is private or was found out via doxing, which we'll get into later. What we do know is that from an early age, Francis had a natural affinity towards art and video games, especially Roblox, Sonic, and later FNF. For most of his time on the internet, he remained relatively unknown, making custom games on Roblox, posting art on Twitter, and just being a relatively normal kid who had access to the internet at an early age. That is until March 28th, 2024, where Francis posted a comic that would propel his status on Twitter to the stratosphere, the infamous "Bro Visited His Friend" comic. While in years past, some of his older comics like the Dark Humor Buddy or the He Helped Me Through a Rough Time comic saw some relative popularity, it was this meme that clicked with people. It was simple to redraw, it was fun, it was open to edits, and more importantly, it was quite funny, as conversations like what I presented in the comic have probably happened to you and your group of friends. And for the rest of the month, Francis capitalized on his newfound stardom and posted comics and memes like it was running out of style, with each one growing more popular than the last. This is where things started to go wrong, as a little-known message board called Wojak Party grew a bit annoyed with how big the "Bro Visited His Friend" meme had gotten and just how much Fallenchungus was growing. A quick aside, Wojak Party is a message board / internet archive that catalogs and creates Wojaks. What's a Wojak? Look at this video. It essentially is a drawing of a Wojak with features and expressions that alludes to being a, well, soy boy. Listen, they started getting popular back in 2016, so understand where the language comes from. Wojak Party, or how they call themselves Shardy,
I know, hilarious,
are usually pretty tame and are just guilty of being kind of edgy. That is until you annoy them enough. Then, well, the doxing, harassment, and trolling begins. So, on April 9th, 2024, a new post on /raid was made, and the plan was quite simple. Redraw some of Fallenchungus' comics and quote-unquote gem them up a little bit. What does that mean? Well, make them racist and offensive. Since the art style was so simple and easy to replicate, many users on Twitter were fooled into thinking that Fallenchungus was a racist. Now, did this in the beginning have a really big impact? Not really. Most of these comics went underground or were downright ignored by most people and Fallenchungus' fanbase. That was until Francis decided to respond to some of the fake comics and call out Shardy for their, yes, admittedly, shitty way of trolling, but also accuse him of something the thread hadn't done yet. You see, at this point, the chat was slowly burning, but it exploded when Francis accused Wojak Party of doxing him, when at this point in the thread, it was focused on gemming up comics. After a couple of now deleted tweets concerning Wojak Party and even more doxing accusations, ironically, the real doxing began, and they worked quick. Since Francis was still relatively young and inexperienced with the ways of the internet, he would regularly conduct commissions and other forms of business through his personal PayPal. This would be fine and dandy if his email did not contain his real name. As soon as one of the members of Shardy found this out, he quickly found his dad, his mom, and even his grandpa's obituary, using the former to confirm where they lived. Everything was out in the open, from his parents' Facebook to his personal accounts, including his old Minecraft and Roblox videos. What makes things worse is that Shardy confirmed all of this was real after they messaged and called his dad, to which he actually responded and confirmed that Fallenchungus' real name was Francis like they found. The drama didn't end there, as Francis had a tendency to fall into dramas left and right for completely unnecessary reasons. For one of them, he was accused of being a chaser, which is essentially someone who fetishizes trans people. Admittedly, the thread that was accusing him was really bad, and the evidence was less than lackluster. A smarter, more internet-savvy individual would just ignore the thread as it was relatively self-contained to a small minority of people. Not Francis. He immediately responded by apologizing and having a heated exchange with his accusers. The main pushers of these allegations were Lennox Rhodes Real and High Tier Goddess, two users with an interesting history concerning Chungus. Essentially, the allegations were fabricated in order to defame Chungus after another user, Riki, allegedly attempted because of Chungus's actions. The entire drama was a mess, with Chungus constantly responding to Lennox and Goddess to the point where even his fans were starting to get annoyed with how much he kept the drama going. It was nasty, with each exchange getting more and more concerning, with Lennox and Goddess constantly harassing him with death threats, not only on Twitter, but on Discord, with the occasional Discord raid. This drama would last for weeks, and on May 26, 2024, things came to a very concerning head. After another night of heated Twitter exchanges between all the parties, it seemed that Chungus had enough, and that same night, he posted his final statement on the drama and a video note. Obviously, this set Shardy and Twitter on fire for days. Some users of Shardy were scared that they might have taken their trolling a little bit too far. Others were doubling down and celebrating the attempt on Shardy, telling him that he deserved to die. Literally hours after the note was posted, concerned users contacted Francis's mom to see if Francis actually offed himself. Just inside. Anyway, after some prodding, his mother finally responded, and her reaction was quite understandable. According to the leaked text, she had no idea what Francis was doing on Twitter, nor did she know that Francis had a serious, or several serious mental issues. She even asked for the Wojak party thread link to get a better picture of what her son was posting on the internet. Some contacted his dad, who was actually divorced from the family for about 5 years, and pretty much knew just as much as his mom did.
He's also a huge Cooner and Republican.
Immediately after hearing the news, Francis's mom took away his Twitter and other online accounts and forced him into a mental hospital for a certain amount of time so he can get his head straight. And that's where we thought it would end, really. On June 6, he would return to Twitter, giving his fans an update about his situation and proclaiming that he was retiring from his account and never coming back to Twitter. He wanted to turn his life around and focus on the things that he really loved, like game design and art. He then returned again on the 22nd, venting about how his mom was controlling his life by not letting him post on the internet anymore.
Okay, let's pause for a second.
We already know that Francis is more than a little unstable, and this is the moment that I think sort of made people flip on him. Believe it or not, he gained a lot of sympathy throughout the doxing and chaser allegations drama due to it genuinely not being anything of substance and it just seeming like a harassment campaign. But there is always one consistent through line. Even if it isn't his fault, he chooses to continue to interact with these people instead of blocking or ignoring them. He also has a tendency to vent about very personal things on his main Twitter account that makes him a target for many people. So while his mom restricting his internet access and controlling his life may seem harsh, I do kind of understand her perspective because Francis clearly can't handle the internet and his Twitter fame does not help that fact whatsoever. So just 1 week later, on the 29th, Francis was kicked out of his house by his parents because they found out that he was still using the internet when it was explicitly told to him that it was banned. Mind you, throughout all of this, Francis was not attending school. He didn't even have a job. His tweets continued to paint his family as evil and uncaring, and from what initially was posted, it sure seemed like that was true.
Argued with my mom for the umpteenth time, and she dropped me off an hour away from the house. When I got there, they left a bag with my shit at the front door. At least I know now they don't give a fuck.
Instead of leaving the internet and figuring things out without thousands of eyes staring at him constantly, he would keep venting about his situation and even accuse his stepdad of being abusive in years prior. It got so bad that at one point he even considered sleeping over at a supposed fan's house for the time being until he found accommodation. While the situation at hand seemed terrible, another member of the Chungus family jumped into the fray, and that was his aunt, who seemed to have a different version of the story Francis told. After one of Francis's many rants, his aunt stepped in, essentially telling the family's perspective of the story, and it seemed very different. Francie Fournier replied to his homeless post with this message:
"You did this to yourself. It's all on you. Leave your parents out of it or we're going to have a problem. Maybe look into anger management classes and a group setting where you can talk about your internet addiction."
She further extrapolated on her original post with another reply to an angry commenter who was criticizing the way that she handled the situation. She wrote this:
"This child has been causing nothing but tension, heartbreak, and doing whatever he wants to get his way. His home life has been torn apart by his antics. My sister is on the verge of a nervous breakdown, and the violent part of his personality has become more prevalent."
Francis then, on his main account, quote tweeted his aunt and confirmed that it was actually her, and then he began to disparage and debunk her claims. Kind of. You see, on Francis's original homelessness thread, he painted a picture where his parents' overbearingness and abuse caused the falling out. Not once throughout his initial rant did he ever mention violence on his own behalf, nor take accountability for disobeying his parents' orders to stay off the internet. Mind you, the internet is the entire reason why he tried to off himself, so it completely makes sense that they banned it for him because he clearly can't handle it. I would also like to point out the fact that, again, he is 18 years old and not attending school nor working from what I can gather, so I understand a little bit of the frustration his parents have that their 18-year-old son is not attending any form of education nor trying to get a job and is rot-maxing all day on his phone. He then, in another follow-up post, further explains his actions, and it doesn't seem better. He confirmed it wasn't the first time he disobeyed his parents' orders to stay offline, and that he was threatened once before that if he continued his actions, he would get kicked out. And well, to no one's surprise, he got kicked out for going online just like his parents told him and warned him. The back and forth went on for a couple of days afterwards, with his aunt alluding to the fact that Francis had a short temper and that he has been given every opportunity to improve his life, but he gets in the way of it by not being able to listen to simple orders and stay off the internet and focus on other things. While Francis claims that he is imperfect, he also claims that his parents are even worse than him for letting him go homeless in the first place over arguments that to him were their fault because he needs the internet for his career path. Users commenting inside the thread were very skeptical about Chungus's claims, since he had a tendency to over-exaggerate or even outright lie about certain things in his life to make himself seem like a victim. And I can't really blame them. His initial thread about homelessness makes him seem like a total victim. I mean, who kicks out their kid over an argument? But adding more context to the situation makes the ordeal much more gray, and that context was not given to us by Chungus, and it had to be given by his family, who by all accounts don't need nor want internet clout. There is also the fact that Chungus, even before the doxing and the suicide attempt, would constantly bait or leaving the internet when he was getting hate, only to come back a couple of weeks later and act like nothing happened. Instead of leaving the internet for good and patching things up in private with his mom and aunt, he drops that his stepdad beat him and that his mom is being manipulated by him. He put this on the internet, the fact that he was allegedly abused, to get a one-up on a random Twitter comment criticizing him.
Jesus Christ.
What's even crazier is that at the end of his post, he says to stop asking for specifics, even though he was the one who voluntarily told the internet he was being beaten by his stepdad. The drama left Twitter and then entered his Discord, where a leaked message showed that one of his members found his aunt's phone number and business account on Yelp. While this was public information, as it was available on her business site and Facebook, the responsible thing for Chungus to do would be to dissuade his fanbase and make an announcement, telling people people not to contact her and possibly even apologize publicly for letting things get out of hand. Yeah, no. He decided to @ everyone on his server, telling them he was fine with them calling her and trolling her, tacking on at the end of the message to not dox her, which is fucking dumb. He then proceeded to double down on Twitter, claiming that since her information is publicly available, that it's not his fault if she's doxed and harassed, since he can't control what people do. It seems that he completely lost the irony that that's exactly what Shardy did to him. And well, we know where that went. While all of this is happening, in the background, other controversies were brewing. Even before the homelessness arc, in fact, in the middle of all of this drama on June 27th, Pumpkin the Gentleman, an infamous gooner Twitter account who you probably know from this meme or just the mountains of allegations against him, tweeted out Fallenchungus' alt account, That's Frungo. In now deleted posts, Francis would spend hours on his alt account liking obesity fetish porn that, yes, included farting. This wouldn't necessarily be a problem if not for the fact that the original That's Frungo account was a normal alt account where he just reposted normal art and talked with his mutuals. Obviously, this was a problem, as the minors following his original account opened their feed the following day only to find fart fetish porn. Instead of putting up a warning or PSA before immediately switching to 18+, he went on a rant about how he is not liable for minors following his account but discourages them from looking. While he is correct, you can't control what everyone does, why not ease into the fetish stuff and try to mitigate the amount of minors following the account before you full on switch to the goon session? Well, the alt didn't really last that long, as one of the members of Shardy found the account and Francis immediately caught wind of it and deleted it before anything could happen. By the end of June, most of the drama died down and people started losing interest. There was a brief stint, or a couple of stints, where Francis said he would quit and then proceed not to quit, or again post a video or tweet saying that he was going to sell. It became such a common cycle that it got to the point where instead of replies wishing him well, he would get people essentially ignoring him, making memes about him, or calling his bluff. This continued until September 6, 2024, where on another Shardy thread, they decided to troll him once again. A user revealed that they obtained the password to Fallenchungus' account after sending him a phishing site in the form of fart fetish. According to the post, a member of the thread disguised himself as a gooner on his Discord and sent Francis the game through DMs. Upon clicking the link, the game would ask for a Twitter handle and a password, to which he would actually put in his real information. To the thread's detriment though, the account was protected by two-factor authentication, so they weren't able to get in. That didn't stop Francis though, as he found out about the thread 10 hours later and unsurprisingly wasn't too happy about it. While at first he played it surprisingly cool and denied that his information was compromised, it didn't really last that long. In a now deleted Twitter post, he directed his fans to the thread that had his password and information on it, blowing it up from a once small isolated issue into one concerning thousands of his fans raiding a thread and getting a peek at his password. 3 hours later, after what I could only imagine were hundreds of emails flooding his inbox at once, reading along the lines of,
"Hey, someone wants to log into your account,"
he took down his Twitter post and nuked the entire discourse from his Twitter. Although things have slowed down, the saga of Fallenchungus continues to this day, as many smaller dramas have occurred since then too. To beefing with random YouTube channels or Twitter randoms and gimmick accounts, it's been a long and winding road. As of late, the actual Fallenchungus account doesn't even belong to Francis anymore. You see, in another stroke of genius, he decided he wanted to sell the account for a quick buck and an opportunity to finally rid himself of this plague that's been haunting his life once and for all. While we don't know exactly how much he was selling it for, somebody eventually bought the account by scamming him. Kind of. You see, according to some Discord screenshots, he actually successfully sold the account, but then days later changed his mind and claimed to have a mental breakdown, which during that crash out, he abruptly, without warning, sent back the money the guy gave to him and begged him to deactivate the account. The guy, however, just blocked him and changed the email. The account now is run by some random guy who literally just got an almost 100,000 follower Twitter account completely completely for free by doing absolutely nothing. And if he plays his cards right, he has a good ticket to start an online presence. It's funny, if you look at the replies at some of the newer Fallenchungus posts that are made by this random guy, they're getting more popular and more positive reactions than when it was Francis. It's almost like people don't really like him that much anymore. I know Twitter's a volatile space, but damn, to make that many enemies? But that, ladies and gentlemen, is where the story ends for now. From what I've found, he's seemingly doing better and has improved his relationship with his parents, and he's even moved back in. He has a job, and he hopes to continue to make content online and hopefully turn it into a career. Right now, if you want to know what he's up to, he's currently working on a video game on Roblox called Agony Arena, and while it's not my cup of tea, at least it's something rather than nothing. Either way, remember, he is still a human and a person at the end of the day, and he deserves a little bit of sympathy because, come on, he was just a stupid kid who did stupid stuff on the internet, and he's getting a little bit too much hate for that. Well, anyway, see you guys later. Hello, hi. Yes, thank you so much for the support on my last video. I don't know if I'm going to be making any more TNO videos ever, maybe. I don't really know, but I'm glad if any one of you guys who came from that video still supports me and still wants to watch my videos, even if it's like 100 or 200 of you guys. I don't really mind. That'll be lovely. Thanks for almost 7,000 subscribers. That's phenomenal. And I want to reiterate, don't bully, don't harass, don't dox Francis. From what I've heard, he's in a pretty okay place right now, and I don't want to ruin any of that. So, yeah. Thanks for watching, I guess.